Happy Friday, Broncos country. Welcome into the Broncos Breakdown. It is presented to you by our friends at Aura, an all-in-one digital safety company. I can't wait to tell you more about the awesome stuff they have going on for everyone later on in the show. But first, we got the latest Broncos news and rumors to hit on as we get into Memorial Day weekend. So some fun nuggets out there, kind of put them all together and break it down for you guys and send you on your way. Hopefully you're having a fun weekend planned. But here's what we got coming up on the show. So the Broncos be looking to trade for Tyler Lockett post-June 1st. We'll kind of debunk that idea, but entertain it at least. Also, the Russell Wilson effect. You're hearing some awesome quotes and stories come out of OTAs and whatnot, so we'll look at that side of things. Plus, with Billy Turner still having a lingering knee injury, should George Paton look to the free agent market and maybe find another offensive tackle if Turner is not going to be ready sometime soon. But first up, Russell Wilson. He has been the star of OTAs. He has elevated both the offense and the defense. When you play on one side of the football, but you have such a big impact that the other side gets better because of all the reps and all the practice they do going up against you, that speaks volume to the type of player you are in this league, and that's why Russell Wilson is a top quarterback in the NFL. Now, an interesting quote came out that we're going to share in just a moment with you all about how they plan, and this is not breaking news or anything, to build around Russell Wilson, okay? So we'll see what Hackett said about that. But first, I want you guys to weigh in early in on the show. Over or under 40 touchdowns for Russell Wilson in 2022. I didn't just come up with this number out of thin air. That is his career-high touchdown passing number. So, is he going to break his own record in year one with the Broncos? If so, give me an O for over. Or if you think, you know what, it's probably a little early, let's pump the brakes on setting records in the first year, give me a U for under. Here's that Nathaniel Hackett quote I was teasing you guys about, though. Here's what he said. We want to build this thing completely around him and make sure that he's comfortable and watch him come alive. I think he did some awesome things today by utilizing his athleticism and at the same time being just a pure drop-back passer. I think we were a lot of good things. We just have to keep developing that. So when you take what Hackett said there about building around Russell Wilson and you sprinkle on some fairy dust of Tyler Lockett trade rumors, it makes you wonder, makes some people wonder, at least on the World Wide Web, could the Broncos try to reunite Tyler Lockett and Russell Wilson? I don't think it's very likely, but you know what? It's late May. We don't have a ton to talk about, so let's explore this idea. Let's look at what a trade for Tyler Lockett could theoretically look like, at least the foundation. So we're going to start with the salary cap, because that's like step one for GM. This is their love language. What's his contract? So if you wanted to trade, or if the Seahawks wanted to trade Tyler Lockett after June 1st, they incur a $3.8 million dead cap hit for this year, an $11.4 million dead cap hit for next season, but they do save $6.2 for this year. That doesn't really make a ton of sense to me if I'm Seattle. Why would you want to move on from someone you just gave an extension to? A player who's if you had him in your fantasy team, you know how good he is. Now, if I'm Russell Wilson, I bet he'd love to have his buddy back, right? Kansas State legend here, who was awesome. I mean, you look at the stats, these two combining up in the Pacific Northwest, nearly 6,000 yards from Wilson to Lockett. They connected for 45 touchdowns in 108 games, and he never was his number one go-to receiver between the handoff from Doug Baldwin to DK Metcalf. This is a fun idea, don't get me wrong, but I think you could stab it at about a 10% chance this happens. If I'm Seattle, I'm looking for a second-round pick, something Denver doesn't have. So unless Seattle is just like, you know what, turn me around and bone me once again, Denver, we'll give it to you for a day 3 pick, I don't see a way a trade happens here. The Broncos have very little to offer. Why would, if the Seahawks are going to trade Lockett, they can find a whole bunch of other suitors who could at least offer them a second-round pick. So Denver's going to build around Russell Wilson, but I don't think that building will include Tyler Lockett. We've got more to get to on this front and on the rest of today's show. But speaking of today's show, it is presented to you by Aura, a financial fraud protection company that helps you protect your identity online. Quick anecdote here. My sister's had her identity stolen twice. I guess Charlotte Peterson is a very common name. I don't really think so, but it's happened twice, and it sucks to see because it is a long process of police work that never gets resolved, and it's a lot of boring stuff, and it's a lot of heartache. But let Aura make sure that never happens to you with their online and device security, because listen, you do more online than ever, right? We shop online. We do everything online. Everything about us is online. Make sure Aura protects you. We have a lock for our house and our apartment and our home. You should have some protection when you are online. Plus, Aura is going to give you a 14-day free trial when you go to Aura.com/chatsports. Boom, Broncos country being hooked up with 14 days of a free online protection thanks to our friends at Aura. Links in the comments and the description. To kind of wrap up here on this idea of Tyler Lockett to Denver, what about the current Tyler Lockett, I should say, for the Broncos? KJ Hamler. In just 16 games, the second-round pick has yet to really break through, and it was a shame to see him have the ACL tear last season and just, end his 2022 campaign way too early. But through 16 games, 455 yards and 3 touchdowns. I bring this up because there's a lot of hope and speculation and belief that Hamler can be the Tyler Lockett for Russell Wilson at Mile High. But will KJ Hamler have a breakout season? There are a lot of guys on this team that I think are just scratching the surface, and with Russell Wilson under center, he's going to make everyone around him better. So drop a Y for yes or an N for no. And then you got to have some faith in your second-round pick. Sure, it's been 16 games in 2 seasons, so a little frustration on that end, but it's not like Hamler woke up one day and said, today's the day I'm going to tear my ACL. Like, that's things that are out of his control. Injuries suck. Injuries happen. Hell, Drew Brees got injured, and the Chargers dumped him, and I bet they regret doing that. Actually, I'd wonder what Chargers fans would think about having either Drew Brees or Phillip Rivers. I would roll with Brees. All right, coming up, though. Could Russell also be improving the entire defense, right? The Russell Wilson effect. We've talked about him a lot. We've talked about 3 a ton. But when you give up everything to get someone, you're going to get some extra airtime on the show. And Justin Simmons, he sees it happens every day at practice. Here's what he said. There are times when we're breaking our shell as a defense a little early. So he's figuring out pre-snap where he wants to go with the ball. It's clean, it's quick, it's crisp, so it's fun. I love it. It's the game within the game. Yeah, you could say there's a slight difference when you go from Drew Lock and Teddy Bridgewater running the offense and Justin Simmons like, all right, we can probably take a couple snaps off here because Lock's going to either overthrow his target or Teddy's going to check down for 3 yards on 3rd and 8. But Russell Wilson, no. He's going to extend plays. He's going to make the pocket huge. It's going to be like a triple XL pant-sized pocket. And he's going to make defenses work way harder than they ever have before. Before we get to the final segment of today's show, if you haven't subscribed and you're wondering why should I subscribe to this chunky Broncos YouTuber, well, we've got free daily content for the country. Plus, we're just over 8,000 subs, a strong army, but we are growing. We're knocking on the door of 8,100, and we're going to make our way to 10,000 subs before week 1. So hit that big red button and subscribe. Matthew, here's what I want to ask myself. What is this Broncos defense going to look like without Vic Fangio? Kind of going off the coattails of what Justin Simmons said right there. What's it going to be with Evero and a different look here? Because let's face it, we like to rag on Fangio, but we all can agree his defense was never really the issue. I mean, look at this defense last season. For a team that allowed the 3rd fewest points per game in the NFL at under 3 touchdowns in a day and age where everyone is scoring points, that's pretty impressive. And it's a little mind-boggling. Like, how did that guy lose his job? Oh, yeah, he couldn't nail down the other 50% of football all that well, and that's kind of the more important half to begin with. So, while we talk about the defense here, let me ask this question. Kind of a fun one off the wall. Who is the best player on this Broncos defense? I personally would cast my vote for Justin Simmons, but if you want to get creative and you want to throw a Bradley Chubb at me, that's all right. Or if you want to go, hey, let's go to the new guy, Randy Gregory or PS2. Whoever it is, doesn't matter. Let me know down below in the comment section. I'll be looking. Let's move on to the final segment of the show, Billy Turner's knee injury that has not allowed him to participate in OTAs. And I think there's a little bit of like I wouldn't say worrisome, but it's on the radar now of everyone in the front office at Mile High of, hey, is this going to be a concern going forward? So Zach Kleberman over at Mile High Huddle wrote an awesome article, and here's what he said. Turner warrants a raised eyebrow, considering the 30-year-old is widely expected to win the aforementioned competition, yet can't seem to shake a bothersome knee issue that dates back to last season when he missed 4 regular season games for the Packers and was limited during the playoffs. So you take what Zach said there, and then you add in to the fact of Billy Turner was released from the Packers after a failed physical in March, makes you a little bit concerned. How ready is this guy going to be? Because as of now, he's my starting right tackle. Is that going to happen for week 1? Is he going to be ready to go? Well, maybe Peyton goes, hey, well, maybe Peyton looks at the field and says, there's a new head coach, there's a new quarterback. Even if Turner's only going to be ready for week 1, he misses all of training camp. That's a bit concerning, right? Even though he's coming back, so he has some familiarity with the team and the program, but still, here are some free agent targets out there that I think are worth mentioning on the show. Eric Fisher, longtime enemy. Now he could be a friend if he were to come over. Then you've got Dwayne Brown, who definitely knows a thing or two about protecting Russell Wilson. Or you want to run it back with Bobby Massey. We haven't talked about him really at all this offseason, but as the market has kind of dried up, maybe you just want to roll with someone who you don't have to train a bunch of new things to, even though there is a new regime in town. So here are their pro football focused grades and ranks, and you can kind of see they're all middle of the pack guys last year, right? The furthest separation is 46 to 37. So honestly, for this day and age, late in the game, that's not really that bad if you ask me. You can check out their overall grades, their pass versus run protection grades. I'm not opposed to signing one of these players. In fact, I'd leaned more towards so than hoping Billy Turner will be able to catch up after missing potentially a lot of this offseason. So, should the Broncos sign an offensive tackle? S for sign or P for pass? I'm going sign. I really am. I think the idea of maybe having Billy Turner be ready to go by week 1. I mean, if Turner's going to be good to go for training camp, then no sweat. Let's see what he can do at right tackle. But if he's going to miss a lot of training camp, and you've got a new head coach, a new offense, and you're coming back to a new team with a new quarterback, a lot of the news in that phrase right there, in that rant, maybe you want someone who's at least been practicing with the team. Because the depth chart for the Broncos isn't very strong after Turner. And that's giving Turner a lot of faith here. Calvin Anderson, who's also dealing with an injury right now. You've got Tom Compton. They signed him from the 49ers. He can be a bit of a flex guy. You can put him at guard. You can put him at tackle. Listen, Billy Turner has 15 weeks from where I stand right now until week 1. Are you ready to hope that he's 110% ready by week 1? Or even not that. What if you want him to participate in preseason and training camp? Even though he's a bit of a veteran, but still, he's not a top tackle out there that can just kind of mail it in and wake up ready to play week 1. So maybe they'd like to see him get some reps in, learn what it's like to play and protect Russell Wilson, and play for a new head coach and new everything going on there. Even though he does have some of that connection to Hackett and Uten, their time together in Green Bay, still, it's new-ish, all right? Make sure you guys subscribe, though. We put out daily Broncos content for you all, so make sure you hit that big red button. Have an awesome Memorial Day weekend, and I'll catch up with you later with more Broncos news and rumors.